Hey, hello, welcome to Washington Dulles International Airport. This is XP12. And this is the default scenery for XP12. One of the things that has been updated, that I at least got updated, was the flight factor 757. Did a flight on it yesterday on the Twitch live stream, and I gotta tell you, it was not a bad flight. This is the California Dreamin' livery that Swinner's actually painted for the Flight Factor 757. The livery is free, but the Flight Factor 757 is a pay-wear airplane, but they did update it. And hello, I'm Dave. I do the spy flights over on Twitch, and thank you for coming on in. This is the second video that I've done on XP12. It's still in early development right now, so that's still a big thing. I also haven't done anything as far as scenery is concerned. I did put the Zebo mod for the 737 in, and then just recently updated this thing yesterday, and it appears to be ready to go. And I've got to tell you, the external model really looks good. So really good looking 757 out there. Today we are doing a flight from Washington Dulles to Chicago O'Hare. This is XP12. It's still in early access mode, and flight factor 757 has been updated. So it's pretty easy. You can just go over and get your flight factor 757 from XPlane 11, drag it over into, or copy it. I'd suggest copy it into XPlane 12, run the updater from the XPlane 12 folder, and that should take care of it for you. Add-ons that I'm using today: SimBrief and SimToolkit Pro, Navigraph charts, and data. Okay, so if you go into your Navigraph data manager and look for a new add-on mapping, there's now one for XPlane 12. So you can use Navigraph data with XPlane 12 now. I am using the TopCat planner. That's where I get a couple of extra numbers for the 757. Just makes it fly a little bit better. Again, all of my airports and scenery are default, and I'll do a little bit of a rant later on about tweaking and downloading and stuff. Remember, as I've been saying, this is still early access, so it's not perfect yet. There's still work to do. I'm still tweaking some controllers. So I am using current weather, current time, and I'm also using the real world active runways. And I got that information on the web. If you're flying in the United States, there's a really cool resource called DATIS. And links in the description for DATIS. And this is where you're able to go and get the actual real world ATIS. If you don't have that, you could also go to METAR-TAF, and METAR-TAF is going to give you a really nice visual weather report. You can also go and click on your runway and see what the winds are going to do for you on your departure. So runway 30 is one of their departure runways. We're going to have about a 5-knot crosswind from the right, so it's going to be blowing us to the left side of the runway. We'll encounter a few clouds at 1,200, broken clouds at 4,000. So METAR-TAF, link in the description, is a really great resource as well. Also, late yesterday, our friends from VATSIM, and voice is starting to go a little bit, but our friends from VATSIM went and did a very, very nice, what did they do? They gave us access. We have a new client. I'm trying to find the right word. Clearly, I need a little more coffee. I'm trying to get this video done first thing in the morning today. But so you can go over, and I think if you go to VATSIM and controllers, you'll be able to find that. I think it's going to send you to a GitHub page. It's a real simple download and an EXE file. One thing, though, if you've got what is it? It's XPilot for XPlane 11. It's going to rename it. So you may want to change your XPlane 11 if you're still going to be doing XPlane stuff. Little bit of coffee is going to be great this morning. So anyhow, it doesn't look like we have any ATC going out. We do have tower over at DC. There is a Delta flight that just left JFK. It's early in the morning, so this should be a nice VATSIM flight with that we'll just be able to blast out on. Couple of interesting things that I've discovered here. So last time I did a video on this, tried to get better pushback working. It didn't, but there is a new thing that you'll find. And if you go into flight and at the bottom, there is the ground handling window. And now we have a ground handling window to toggle jetways, and we can request some ground services. I have not tried this yet, but I think that this is how we can push back. So this may get our pushback truck. You can go and get it in several different ways. You can go to flight and all the way at the bottom of that menu, or you could also set a button up on your on one of your controllers to toggle it on and off, and I really like that one. For the Flight Factor, one of the things I've always had set up as a toggling button is the Flight Factor iPad or the EFB, and so we can go over to the airplane, and I've got my left front door open, and I've already got a jetway over there. Let's also just go ahead, and we're going to have them open up the forward and aft cargo, and we'll go to the ground page. I've got chocks. We'll need a loader. So there's a loader. Let's also get a fuel truck. And there's a fuel truck, and that should be good for the moment. Our flight plan today, I've already gone and done the flight planning. We are going to have 146 brave souls flying with us to Chicago today. Our cargo is 1,100 pounds. That's according to SimBrief, and fuel to get us there is 22,133. So 22,133. There we go. Now let's take a look at our zero fuel weight. It says 162, 634. The flight plan said 167, 221. So, okay, that's off just a little bit, but I think that that's workable out of for today's flight. So I'm going to go ahead, and one of the things about the Flight Factor, do maintenance on the airplane. Change, fill up the oil and the hydraulic stuff. So doors are open. We've got our load stuff set up here, so we are ready to go and hop into the best seat in the house. We don't have the really nice scenery, so walking down jetways is not going to look great here like we can do over in the other sim right now, but we don't have to do that. Let's just hit the button here, and in the very, very brown cockpit. A couple of changes I've made. I've started to put together some control options here. So here is my throttles. Throttles are pretty good. And for reverse, I'm using the Thrustmaster Airbus stuff. So I'm using the auto throttle disconnect buttons on either side for toggling it into reverse. Haven't tried it yet, but we shall see. I'm also just going to go and make sure. My sensitivities seem to be a little bit weird on this airplane. So things seem to be a little bit too sensitive at times. So I need to work a little bit on sensitivities. And now it's time to start turning on the airplane. Flipping switches and buttons. These are the things we like to do. So the battery's going on. And I didn't hear the sound because I need to turn the sound up. Really great safety tip. So you all probably recognize this from Microsoft, right? It's the volume mixer. This is really like mission critical for me. And the big reason is if you're going to be on VATSIM, some VATSIM controllers' microphones are really, really loud and really, really quiet. And so sometimes being able to adjust the audio level here on these two, so you can turn down the simulator if it's a real quiet controller, or you can turn down the controller if they've got, a big booming voice. So this is one of the things that I like to keep on my desktop. I've actually got this shortcutted to the toolbar too, so I can get to it quickly, especially if there is a very, very loud controller that comes booming into my headset. Okay, the battery is on, so standby power to auto, and we do have external power, so we're going to do external power on bus ties, utility buses, come on down here, position lights, then we come up here, trim air, recirculating fans, and we're going to go up here and turn the temperatures to auto. Okay, so we got those up there right now, so all of that looks good. We're going to have to refuel the airplane, so no smoking goes on now. And everything's looking good. So this is good for the moment. Let's see, hydraulic pumps. I always forget this one. So checklist, electrical power has been established. APU generator switches on. APU selector, they want us to do this now. So let's do APU selector. There was a hydraulic switch, and that's the one that I'm trying to remember. So the APU selector is now over to start. And so I guess we're going to start the APU up pretty quick here. Let's go and get the status button here. And our airplane is coming to life. Such a cool airplane. Okay, I'm also going to hit the FMC button. And you can see that the nav data is good. Now, there's two things, of course, that you've got to set up for the flight factor 757. The first thing, and let's just look at Navigraph real fast here. So there's a way to set up X-Plane 12. And so over here, there's X-Plane 12. There's a new one. But you're also going to need to set a new GNS 430. So you're going to need an extra one of those for your X-Plane 12. And so those are the two things you need to do. And the APU is up and running. Let's turn on the APU bleed, isolation switch, and we can turn on some packs, and that's going to make the cabin a little more comfortable. Okay, where are we on this checklist here? Because, so APU selector has been started. Well, it didn't say that it started it, so okay, we'll just go from there. Okay, IRS's quantities, so we'll go ahead and do that. I'm trying to remember, one of the hydraulic switches needs to go on. So nav, and nav. So we got those on there. Status display. We'll check those and we'll look at our quantities because, you know. So let's see, hydraulic quantity, 90, 90, and 90. So that looks good. And I'm going to guess that the oil is good too. So as far as quantities are concerned, we've done the status display and we've done our quantities. Next page. Okay, so it's CDU. So apparently I'm remembering it wrong, or I had it wrong. I thought that there was some hydraulic pumps, that there was one pump that had to go on. I think it was the lower right electric, but it's been a long time, so I don't quite remember these things. So let's do our position in it. We are at KIAD, Washington, Dulles. We are at gate Charlie 12. Let's see if it knows Charlie 12. More often than not, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not in the database. So if you want to be a good pilot, you go and look at this and compare it. Then use the GPS position, because that's going to be where you are at the gate. And let's click the GPS and put it in there, and we are aligning. Go to the route page. IAD, we're going to KORD. Now there is, you could also download your flight plan, a company route. This isn't that big of a flight, and I don't have that set up over in the SimBrief downloader yet, so we're not going to worry about that at the moment. We can go to page 2 and put in some nav waypoints. R-A-M-A-Y, RAMY, R-A-M-A-Y, R-A-M-A-Y. Sometimes I have to read it a few times. Next, we're going to be on the Q72 airway. Q72, sounds like a classic rock radio station, and that's going to HACS, H-A-C-K-S, H-A-C-K-S. Okay, after HACS, we're going to be on the J149 airway. So the J149. And the J149 is taking us to ROD. R-O-D. Oh, it's not a valid entry. Really? ROD is not a valid entry then. Okay, so that's it. Oh no, you put it up here. That's it. Sorry, I put it on the wrong line. ROD. Okay. More coffee needed. Okay, so activate and execute. And there's our flight plan. Okay, clearances have been done. So get the iPad, come to operations. The airplane is warmed up a little bit. We've done maintenance. Let's go ahead and start loading the airplane. And here come the passengers. So get those passengers aboard. Let's go and do our departure and arrival. We know that we're going to be departing off runway 30. We are doing the Buns departure via Ramey and execute that. Back to the index page. Right now, Chicago is landing to the west. We think they're using 27 center right and 28 center. So I'm going to go for 27 center. So ILS 27 center. And we're coming in on the Watson arrival. So Watson 4, and that's going to be via rod. And I don't think we have to go all the way out to Vogler on this one. That's a long way out, so I'm not going to put that in right now. So let's do that transition. We're going to go into legs. And, oh gosh, the little brat says mom every 45 seconds in the load. I don't hate kids, but seriously, the little brat that says mom while they're loading, it does definitely make me sort of like, argh, because you know that's one of those kids that, so if you're sitting in your seat right now, this isn't a good example. So if we're sitting in our seat over here, yeah, here we are back in here. And let's see, we can go back like this. So here we are, we're sitting in our seat. The little kid that says mom is sitting right back there and kicking the seat the whole flight. And no, that's not fake. It actually has happened to me more times than I care to talk about, but I'm not bitter, clearly. Oh my gosh. Definite ranting going on here. Okay, our flight plan looks good. Route page, performance initialization. SimBrief says flight level 380. Holy cats, we are climbing a long way up there today. SimBrief says 75 degrees. Now, cruise winds. Where do you get that? This is a question that comes up over on the Spy Flight on Twitch all the time. So if you're using a SimBrief flight plan, the generic one that comes out, which is the Lido style, see where it says average winds right here on page 1? There's your winds, 018 at 20. So 018 degrees at 20 knots. And that's our average wind for the flight. And there you go. That's how you do that. Pretty simple. Okay, come on over here. And let's go ahead, and I think we need reserve fuel. And so that's in what I'm doing for final reserve is at the bottom. Final reserve and alternate fuel. It says 9255. So that's going to be 9.2 in this format. So 9.2 goes in there. It says insufficient fuel. Don't worry about that. That should be fine. Okay, now the zero fuel weight that we got in the flight plan for us is 167, 221 pounds. Okay. There's going to be a difference here, and so we'll get this thing up, come on over here and do operations and ground, and our zero fuel weight is 162, 634. So a few passengers slept in and didn't make it to the airport, so it's going to be 162.6. So over here 162.6 is those are the passengers who showed up. It's going to keep yelling at you about insufficient fuel. Not going to worry about that. Okay, go to takeoff. Now then, the place that I go to get numbers for all of this, I go to an old school flight planner called TopCat to get this information. Now, I've already plugged in the information for our flight today, but I do need to get updated weather. So here's our flight, Dulles to Chicago. Here is our fuel on board. Our zero fuel weight has changed, though. Remember that changed? And it became, oh, I've already forgotten it. See what happens when you haven't had enough coffee in the morning? So go to ground, 162, 634. So that's our 162, 634. Okay, so now we have a new zero fuel weight in there. So that's updated. Everything else is current, so go to the TLR, takeoff and landing report. This is the fast way to do it. There's a bunch more rabbit holes you can jump into. So here we all are. All of this looks good. We know we're just going to do runway 30. Let's get weather update. So this is going to get the latest METAR, and let's generate our takeoff report. So it's going to be optimum flaps, air conditioning is going to be on, and generate. And here we are. Here's the weather information. There's the latest METAR and the TAF. What I usually do is come here and I copy these 4 lines. So Control C, come over here, and in my flight notes, I will go and just paste these in here. There we go. Because one of the things about TopCat is you have to close out everything to be able to move the windows around. So we're going to close this, and I'm just going to go and put TopCat over here and minimize it. Okay, so we've got that. The only other thing we need to remember is our percent Mac, our center of gravity. is 26%. So clear that out. And 26, we're going to put that in there right now because I'll forget. Now let's go to our top cat. And here's our takeoff report. So flaps are going to be flaps 1 for takeoff. So flaps 1 for takeoff. Thrust, we're going to do a derate. What are we derating to? Minus 61 degrees? 61 degrees. So thrust is going to be 61. We're going to do full length of the runway, so we don't need to do a position shift. Now, beyond that, you can get speeds out of the airplane, and they're really close to these, but V1 is 150, 153, and 155. So 150. It's a 757. We take off fast. 153 and 155. And there we go. We're good. That's all done. Now I usually come on over here to the second one. And on the second one, I will go and put flight progress over there. And we're getting ready to go. Let's see. Altimeter is 2995. So 2995. 2995. Remember to click the screw over here. That sets the first officer, but you do have to set the backup altimeter yourself. So we got to do that. Runway heading for departure. So charts helps us out with that. And our runway heading is going to be on runway 30, 301 degrees. So heading is 301. So dial this in, 301. We are doing the Buns departure, and the 7-year-old in me is going to want to have all sorts of fun with that, so you'll have to forgive me. Top altitude for our climb, we are cleared to 3,000 feet. So since we're on VATSIM, we're going to behave, and we're going to do what we're supposed to do. 3,000 feet, so that looks good. Packs are doing good there. We are going to squawk 2,000. I'm going to start squawking altitude off. So that's good. So we'll do altitude. I think that's what we do here. Maybe that's not correct. Nope. Yep, we've got mode C. Oh, I forgot to connect. Thought I connected to VATSIM. Okay, we are there. Okay, we are connected to VATSIM. Let's see if anybody's out. I thought I was connected. Sorry about that. I don't see anybody here. So it's just us here at Dulles. Well, clearly we're the cool kids and nobody else knows where to go. Okay, altimeters are set. Auto flight is set. Let's go ahead. Passengers are in their seats, so on. We're going to go ahead and do that. We need to close the doors. So come on down here. I've already, of course, completely blown off my checklist. Terrible pilot. So airplane, we're going to go ahead and close forward and aft cargo. We're going to go to operations, go to ground. Okay, we're done with the fuel truck. We're done with the LSUs. Now then, GPU. We have the APU up and running, but we've just been using pneumatics. So APU generator is on, and we're going to disconnect from ground power. There's ground power disconnected. And then we can come over here, and we're going to go to operations and ground and disconnect the ground power unit. We'll leave gate config up because we're going to use a gate configuration. Let's also... Well, I usually move all the passengers forward. Okay, all the passengers are forward. It did change my percent Mac to 20. I bet it didn't change too much of anything else. So percent Mac, let's change it to 20. That's going to be my takeoff trim setting. Yeah, it's 4.5 now. So we did go and put our passengers up front. So that's a good thing to do. Okay, ground. All we have is chocks and gate config, passengers, so all the first class seats are done. Airplane, doors are closed, we're good to go there. So let's go ahead and try this. This is the first time I've done this, so we need to go and get this button, and we're going to toggle the jetway. So this should get rid of our jetway. There goes our jetway. Okay, let's go and see what happens. Let's see what happens when I request ground services here. I don't know what it's going to do. Didn't do anything. I think it didn't do anything because I'm I've turned off the ATC sounds and stuff. The AI ATC is ridiculous. Okay, so everything looks good here. We're going to go and do the beacon. Packs are in their seats. We're disconnected from ground power. I think everything's good. Let's do yawn dampers, because we don't want you yawning while we're doing this. Okay, is parking brake set? Parking brake is set. One last iPad. And we'll go to operations, ground, and I'm going to pull the chocks. And there we go. So let's see here. Everything's good there. The beacon is on. Let's see what happens. So look down here. Parking brakes. Tap the toe brakes. That should release our parking brake. It did. Let's hit the straight button and see what happens. Okay, nothing appears to be happening there. So again, maybe I have to have the ATC stuff on so that we can listen. So that part of the pushback isn't working, or maybe it is and I need to participate in that. So what's our next step? We're going to start engines here at the gate. Parking brakes are on. We'll start engines here at the gate and we'll do a power back. Let's see if I set my reverse thrust stuff correct. So engine starters to both. Let's get our fuel turned on. Okay, we're going to do hydraulic pumps. I'm just going to kick these all on now. It's probably not right to do it that way. Okay, so it looks like I was supposed to turn on the electrics are on, so maybe that was it. Oh, arm the emergency exit lights and guard it. Okay, ground start engine number, and packs off. Ground start engine number 2. And what is it? It's 20%. It's 17% with Rolls-Royce engines. So starting engine number 2. And yes, the real United is flying Rolls-Royce engines. It was a former Continental 757 that they painted up to look like this. I just think the Pratt & Whitney looks better on a 757. I know that the Rolls-Royce is supposed to be more efficient and in some circles cooler, but I'm flying the Pratts just because they look good. We're allowed to do things for looks in this, right? All right, everything's looking good here. Yep, that looks great. How about ground start engine number 1? And there goes N2. Again, I think it's 20% for Pratt & Whitney, 17% for Rolls-Royce is when you introduce fuel. Fuel. And here comes our next engine. See, haven't done the window heaters yet, so window heat can go on. It's summertime, so in the summertime, I tend to delay my window heat. And we got 2 good starts on our engines. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the packs turned on first, because we want to keep our passengers comfy. We're going to turn on the engine bleeds, turn off the isolation switch. And so it's comfy in the cabin. All right, let's come on down here. We're going to trip in the engine generators. Engine generators are on. We'll just leave the APU generator switch in. But at this point in time, unless I've really screwed something up, APU can go off. All right, everything else is good up there, right? The one thing I did not do is set my landing altitude. Chicago is 680 feet. So 680 feet and auto. Okay, good. Now all of that's set. Okay, we've got the beacon. So I'm going to do my nose gear. Nose light, Nose light is on. All right, everything looks good. Let's see if I can do a power back here. Oh, we're on VATSIM. We are on VATSIM. We're 122.8. I think we have to hit this button so that we can listen in. Okay, and it's also the flight factor. So the flight factor, of course, infamous for the annoying, flight attendant. So do the safety demonstration button now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we request your full attention.
Now come on down here.
Attendants demonstrate the safety features of the seat. When the seatbelt sign illuminates, you must fasten your seatbelt.
If you turn this one off right here, the cab, we can have the interphone on, but if you just turn off the cab,
Portion of the button.
you don't have to listen to him. But if you just do that button, everything's good. Shall we go and say something nice on the radio? Dulles traffic, a United 757's pushing back from gate Charlie 12. Dulles. All right, let's see if my scheme works. Parking brakes are off, tow brakes are on. Reversers are engaged. Moving the throttles forward. We appear to be pushing back. Again, not the best way to do it. And then as soon as you stop, get right in there. You'll have to recycle your speed brakes, but that was probably about as good as it gets. Okay, last thing we got to do is set the trim to 4.5. So trim is, wow, set to 4.5. Cool, that doesn't ever happen. Okay, lock the seat in, and parking brakes are off, and out we go. Going to runway 30. So for runway 30, we're going to want to make a left turn. And there's an interesting sound. I don't know if that's my airplane or not. Dulles traffic, that United 757's taxiing to runway 30 via Echo Zulu. Dulles. I always forget the second one. Okay, turning up some panel lights. I really do like to have backlighting. On our way out, we can go ahead and do full light directors. Full light directors are on. We're just doing a nice little thrust idle taxi. Flaps are going to be 1 for takeoff. I'm still using a up and down button for flaps in Boeing airplanes. Did that actually work? Yes. Doesn't look like it's going very fast, but it does appear to. There it is. Now we are doing a thrust idle taxi. It must be because we're a little light. So we got leading edge slats down and a little bit of flap. And just an absolutely nice airplane. So scenery, it's going to be that way. Airplane, wow, is it nice to be back in this airplane. It really is. Everything looks like it's in its proper spot up here. So that looks pretty good. I don't think, yep. Packs, pressurization. If I'd followed my checklist, everything would have been fine. We may need a little power here. So let's see. I know that this airplane is now updated and it seems to work really, really well. So hats off to Flight Factor getting this great airplane going. Let's see. Somebody over in my Twitch chat was saying that if you just drag the rotate MD-11 over, that works. But then somebody else said, yeah, but it's buggy. Okay, so I don't know about that, but that's one of my other favorite airplanes in X-Plane. The Zebo. I was flying the Zebo the other day.
Traffic, American 1776 has vacated off Alpha, clear of the runway. Reagan traffic.
Okay, here is Zulu. So we did that. And the Zebo worked pretty good. Beyond that, I haven't really checked anything else. My guess is that since Flight Factor has updated this airplane, their 767 is either next or done. Let's also not forget Flight Factor has a really, really nice Airbus, the Airbus Ultimate. Okay, we're gonna get a map and traffic. And might need a little more power here. We might be going up a hill here, so we'll add that. Let's see, I also turn up just maybe 2 clicks of flood on this one. Little more power here, guys. Come on, airplane. I think that as far as the weather engine, you'll notice sometimes if you're taking off and it's a little bit windy or gusty, the airplane shakes unnaturally. So I think that maybe that's one of the things they're still trying to sort out on this. Don't know for sure. I need just a little bit more oomph there, airplane. Okay, I don't think we need to go into the hold block today. Add a little more power. So that's probably an early access thing that they're having to work out. I'm not sure. See, auto brakes to RTO. One of the things that I'll do that I'm going to try this time is essentially the thrust button that you push. So we're going to turn on the auto throttles. The thrust button that you push, the way that I do that is, since I'm flying the Airbus throttles, I go up to the first detent and then I hit individual thrust buttons that I have mapped. This is the first time I'm trying it. We'll see if that works. I'd like to change the sensitivity on my nose wheel steering. I think it's a little sensitive. And maybe the sensitivity on my rudder pedals. So those are sensitivities that I got to work on. Okay, New York Center, DCA ground and DCA ATIS are up, so we have no ATC around us, so we don't need to worry about that, and we'll need a little more thrust to get around the turn here. Little cabin call there, let the flight attendants know that we are getting ready to take off. Okay, the airplane, I've got thrust up and it just stopped. So clearly I've got to work on either my thrust settings or there's something that needs to be tweaked on the airplane, because I don't remember the airplane stopping like this. Once you get the 7.5 going, it just goes and goes and goes. Maybe I'm wrong on that one and I wasn't doing it right before though. Okay, flaps, speed brakes. Here's runway 30. Dulles traffic, a United 757 is taking off on runway 30. Dulles. Shall we go? All right, here we go. And strobes are on. You definitely feel like you're sitting up a little bit higher in the 757, which is cool. The other airplanes are so much lower to the ground, it seems like, than this. And of course it is taller because we got very big engines underneath there. You need to add a little power to get this thing turned around, but not much. And there we go. And lined up. Nicely lined up. Last step. Landing lights. Cabin secured. I say we go. Okay, so I usually go throttles up to that first little indicator there. And then with that, then I hit the thrust buttons. I don't see that it did anything, so I'm going to hit this thrust button. And 125, 126, so we're close. And I should concentrate on the takeoff. 80 knots. So my little thrust buttons, I don't think work for me. V1 and rotate. Well, that's definitely a D-rated takeoff. Okay, looking good. Let's try the gear handle, see what that does. Gear's up. Let's see if it goes flip, flick, flick, because the gear is an automatic kind of a thing. Okay, 680 feet. Turn on course. Follow the flight directors. I might have turned a little soon. Okay, the gear handle, I think, with the Airbus gear handle works pretty good. VNAV is active. And command. Slowly releasing my side stick. Hands off the side stick. Let's go and do direct to Lulu. And direct to Lulu and LNAV. And we are direct to Lulu now. Okay, VNAV just canceled on me. So speed, is there a speed restriction going out here? I probably should have checked. After Lulu, no. So we'll just take this up to 250. Speed's coming up. And flaps. Flaps are up. There is 3,000 feet. ATC just called, says climb and maintain 17,000. So that would be departure, so 17,000. And let's see if it continues the climb or if I need to intervene. Let's hit VNAV and see what happens. Yeah, it's not climbing right now. Let's see what VNAV does for me. Now we're still nice and level. Up, we're climbing. It's being a good airplane. Maybe it did. Oh, it wanted a little bit of speed, I think. Okay, come on down here. Go to the climb page. Looking good. Transition's 18,000 feet. We're coming up on Lulu. Somebody forgot to go and do Terra. There we go. TCAS is on. And it does work, by the way. We saw that working on this flight yesterday. So airplane speeded up a little bit, but it seems to be good. Okay, we're passing Lulu, and it is direct to Buns now. Cue the 7-year-old comments. Okay. Auto brakes clicked off. The 737, you have to do it yourself, but in this airplane, the auto brakes will click off. Passing 5,000 feet. Usually here, I will go and do airports and data. It's pretty flat around here, but terrain radar does work. And I guess weather radar is going to work for us too. So direct to Buns. And then it's Ramey, and out we go. So not so bad. And our flight has begun. Clouds, of course, outside. It's, you know, the scenery is what it is. I think it's fun to be back in this airplane, and for this airplane, for scenery and stuff, I don't really feel a big, huge need to make changes. If I want scenery, there's another simulator that's really good for scenery. Let's go on up to our final climb, cleared to flight level 380. And we're currently flying 273. I like to keep that updated, even though I've got LNAV and VNAV going. So continuing the climb, coming up on 10,000 feet. Okay, everything's quiet down there. So 10,000 feet. Actually, I think it looks better to do landing lights here. So landing lights off. And we also do a cabin call. And the only way that I know to do a cabin call is I just usually ring the no smoking sign. There is cabin call buttons up here, but I'm too afraid of triggering the flight factor flight attendant. So that's why I don't use, you know, cabin calls and alerts and stuff like that. So I just ring the no smoking bell. Okay, we're direct to Ramey now. Update the heading, and we are good. 11,000 feet, and there you go. So it's great to have this airplane going. Since the last video that I did on XP12, there has been one patch that came out, or update that came out for XP12. I made a couple of changes to scenery, and I'm getting about 35 FPS in this airplane. That's really good. I was getting about 25 to 20. So maybe the tweak gave us some FPS back. I'm not sure. But I think that, you know, that's pretty nice. I don't mind that at all. My clouds do look a little bit funky, but I don't think my scenery settings are high enough for awesome clouds or something. My scenery settings right now are basically texture quality is max, cloud quality is medium, shadow quality, I did turn that off. My rendering distance, all of these I turned to high, and I haven't messed with anything else here. I guess let's go ahead and see what we can do. Let's go ahead and see what happens there. And let's take a look at their high clouds. Frame rates are still 36. Clouds look... Now, I don't know. Maybe I have to restart the simulator, but the clouds don't look... you know, not great, not terrible. Maybe one of the things that I need to do is do a little bit more in my shadow quality. Let's do medium on my shadow quality and see what happens. Uh-oh, a little more reading of the scenery files here. Maybe that'll make the clouds look a little bit better. Gives me time for coffee. Oh, got disconnected from VATSIM. Finished asynchronous loading. Done with preloading. Okay, let's go back into VATSIM. Well, I think that maybe that made the clouds a little better, perhaps. Frame rates. Frame rates are 30 to 40 now. Maybe it's because I'm getting a little bit higher, though. Okay, there's Ramey, 14,000 feet. So, X-Plane 11, I had terabytes of ortho scenery. I think it's okay. You know, ortho scenery's cool, but I'm really not so sure that I'm going to go and and do a bunch of ortho scenery for X-Plane 12. If I want great ortho scenery, there's another simulator for that, and the airplanes over there are getting pretty good. So I'm probably not going to play that game. I mentioned that I was going to do a little bit of, you know, what did I call that? I called that, maybe it was over here. Yes, a tweaking and a downloading rant. So I've got just gazillions of airports that I purchased over time in X-Plane 11. Okay, I flew it for, you know, what, 8 years, so all of that. So trying to figure out what's been updated and what's not, because all the developers are different, is going to be a little bit of a, you know, nightmare. I'll go and check xplane.org every now and then and see what's going on. But as far as what's got to be paid for, what's updated, what's not, trying to figure that out, that's going to be a little bit of, like I said, it's going to be a cluster. At least from where I'm sitting. So not too jazzed about that part of it. That being said, one of the first things I read on xplane.org is Xcoder, who did Denver and Telluride, among other places, has updated their scenery. So what you have to do is, it was pretty simple, go and just download the new scenery for X-Plane 12. So that was nice. Then I went to the page and looked for it. And I have a page here called X-Plane 12 Downloads. And so you can see, here's the Zibo. Here's the Zibo. Here is Denver. Here is the Zibo mod, the Star Wars livery for the Zibo mod. But to do Denver, I've got to do the airport, the mesh, and the Xcoder Designs library package. And the rant that I guess that I was going to do is I do Flight Simulator to fly airplanes, not to tweak, not to learn the intricacies of a configuration file. And so that's kind of the reason why it is that I'm leaning against going and downloading terabytes of ortho scenery. And as far as, you know, really nice airports, I don't know how invested I'm going to be in terms of going and updating and in some cases paying for some of the airports that I used to have over in this sim. Especially when, to get Denver over in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I push one button over in their marketplace. And so I guess part of the rant that I was going to do here is, could we, you know, the scenery developers, it would be really nice if they'd be, if they kind of take that into account, especially if it comes to buying a new airport. And it's sort of like, yes, buy the new airport, here's, you know, $30, $40, and here's these 3 files, and you kind of get where I'm going with this. So I don't want to rant too long about it, but that's kind of what's going on in the back of my mind, especially since if I want a great visual experience, I can go to the other simulator. So if you're a developer, perhaps have a little bit of mercy on those of us who are flight simulator pilots, because we want to do flight simulator, not because we want to learn the intricacies of your config files structure. And enough ranting, but, and you know, it wasn't, you know, screaming and yelling and stuff, but enough ranting on stuff like that. Okay, now that I'm done ranting, the only thing that I've done here is we do need to reset the altimeter. So 2992, be sure you do the screw up here in the upper right hand corner that sets the co-pilot, but you do need to set your backup altimeter, 2992. Now I've noticed that there's something interesting going on between these two altimeters. I'm at 2992 over on this one, I'm at 21,800. This is 22,000 and change. So my altimeter settings are the same, but the backup and the other altimeter, now maybe I did something wrong. Maybe there's something I need to learn, but I'm not 100% sure, you know, what that's all about. But clearly there's something wrong there. Let's see, we've got a good Zulu clock, that works pretty good. 44 minutes into the flight. Everything's looking good there. Chicago is 445 miles to the north and west of us. It shows us landing at 15:01 Zulu. So it's 14, so we got about an hour's flying time. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch an hour's worth of flying. So if you're flying along with me doing this as a fly along, usually what I do is as we approach or get to top of climb, I'll pause the video and I will unpause the video and start again when we get to 100 miles from top of descent, actually. So usually we need about 100 miles for the descent or so. So we'll have about 300 miles to go and get breakfast and just chill and enjoy. Nice view outside the airplane. There's quite the layer of clouds here on the East Coast today. Outside of Spy HQ, it's just, it's going to be another hot one. I think 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's wildfire smoke everywhere. So definitely not the day to go out and start, you know, running marathons and stuff. Everything else looks good. Important safety tip when you're in the 757, okay? The VHF radio. So if you've been flying an Airbus and stuff, and I think some of the newer Boeings, the comm radio, so you set the radio over here and you flip the switch to make it active. This one has 2 knobs and you transfer back and forth, okay? So for if you're on VATSIM and stuff and you're flying one of the older Boeings, or like I think the Mad Dog has the 1 knob. So anyway, like I said, That kind of caused a little bit of a problem. Another thing that happens here on this airplane is if you throw out your speed brakes, so you do your speed brakes and you got a view like this and you want to go and look at your instruments, the camera view gets really weird because of the animation in the speed brake stuff. Speed brakes, so be ready for that. Be ready for that. Okay, fuel's pretty well balanced out. Nothing in the center tanks. Everything's good to go there. No problems up here. I don't see any serious issues. I guess I could turn on my cabin lights a little bit more. I didn't think it was that dark back here, but okay. So, nice cabin lights. The in-flight entertainment system is not working today. Passing 26,000 feet, usually at about 25,000 feet, unless there's turbulence. That's when I'll go to seatbelts to auto. And everything else is in pretty good shape. How's our fuel? So I did board extra fuel. I usually, if I'm going to be on VATSIM, I usually board extra taxi fuel. So for, unless it's a VATSIM event, I'm usually boarding about 45 minutes of extra fuel. If it's a VATSIM event, I will board up to 3 hours of extra fuel, just because. But it looks like here at O'Hare, it's estimating 12.3. If you remember from the flight plan, final reserve and alternate is 9.2. So we have more than enough gas. That's going to be good. We're out on top of the clouds. You know, with clouds like this, you don't have to worry about, well, okay, that's pretty good ortho scenery. So, and we're indicating Mach 0.78. I think life is actually really pretty good at this point. So 288 is our heading. And we'll just continue the climb. When we do get to top of climb, the FMC will automatically switch from climb to cruise mode. And then in the cruise mode here, it's going to give us a top of descent. So if you're flying this airplane alongside me or whatever, when this thing gets to 100 miles from top of descent, that's when I'm going to go ahead and turn the video back on, so you don't just have to sit here listening to me finding new things to rant about, because, hey, this is YouTube. There's plenty of people that do that far better than I ever will. But I've got to say that as far as XP12, the rollout seems to have been really pretty good. I know initially it was kind of hard to do the payments, but we all got to pay for the sim. Downloading for me was about 90 minutes. And there was one tweak that we got yesterday from Laminar, and I seem to have gotten some frame rates back for that, so that's pretty good. I'm probably going to play with some of the scenery settings while I'm at cruise here, just to see what it does, and we'll kind of go from there. The next thing that I'll probably be doing is I will go through and try and install Denver, and if I can install Denver and make that pretty good, I'll find another airport near Denver, and maybe we'll try and put some nice airports in, and that'll be the next YouTube video that I do on XP12. Of course, I'll be over on Twitch later on today. I forget what we're doing today on Twitch. Usually we start off at Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, today we're in the A320 departing LaGuardia to Atlanta. Then after that, we'll probably fly X-planes from Atlanta to someplace. Now that we got VATSIM, you know, we now have some multiplayer, which I think is really pretty cool. So the airplane is in good shape. We are climbing up to our final cruise, which is 38,000 feet. I will look forward to seeing you as we get a little bit closer to top of descent. In the meantime, I hope your flight's going well. And for me, I'll probably see you in about 30 minutes. You're going to see me in 10 seconds. Okay, Houston, we've had a problem. I wasn't expecting this, but Passengers are dying. Something went wrong with my pressurization. I've got no idea what I did wrong here. I didn't have failures or anything, but the cabin started to depressurize. I'm at 15,000 feet, and apparently I'm killing my passengers. So we're gonna do passenger oxygen and stuff. I don't know if that actually puts these back here, but apparently passengers are dying. I have no idea what I did here. So it's like, okay, passenger oxygen is now on. Well, the passengers aren't dying anymore. Okay, so that's a good thing. Oh yeah, we have a cabin pressurization alert. So as soon as this thing popped on, I started going down. I went over here and I clicked the oxygen. So the pilot has oxygen, because otherwise the pilot will black out. But I don't know if there was some sort of a failure within the flight. I don't know if the flight simulator does failures. So I don't know if that happened. I don't have failures turned on this airplane. So it wasn't one of those. So not sure exactly how this happened. But we've got passenger oxygen on. We're descending to 15,000 feet. No idea. Let's see. Let's also do seat belts. Okay, what are we doing? We're still pressurized to 10,000 feet. I'm descending at 2,400 feet per minute, so speed's kind of coming up here. I'm going to do a notch of speed brakes out. I think this is the kind of thing that you need to be prepared to divert because of something like this. You look for a place to land. So where are we? Okay. So we got Cincinnati here. There's Indianapolis up ahead. We have Fort Wayne. We are over Columbus. We're at, what's our altitude here? So we're 27,000 feet. So closest airports, Cincinnati, there's Toledo, there's Fort Wayne, there's Indy. Here's a bunch of smaller airports. We're over Columbus. Indianapolis is right over here. So I think we're doing a bit of a diversion here. So let's first of all get rid of these. Let's look at KIND, Indianapolis. So there's Indianapolis. Now Detroit is my alternate. Detroit is up here. I think that's too far. So let's look and see also what's going on. There's 25,000 feet. So this just happened. I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but these are the things I think you're supposed to do on these. So come on over here. Where's my web browser? Let's go and KIND, Indianapolis. Indianapolis is currently ILS runway 23. So ILS runway 23. 23 right is what they're landing on. So 23 right. Okay, so let's just go ahead. I can only pin the chart if that's in part of my flight. So here we go. There's Indianapolis, those over here. Let's go and do direct to Racine. Okay, so direct to Racine here. Let's see. Legs, Route 2. Let's go over RACEN. Can I put that just in here? RACEN. No entry allowed on that one. So let's go to legs up here and go to Route 1, RACEN. R-A-C-E-N. Racing. And execute direct to Racing. So we're turning on into Racing now. How far away are we? We are 130 miles from Racing, passing 20,000 feet. The ILS frequency after Racing, it's driver, D-R-V-V-R. D-R-V-V-R. So there's driver. After driver, it's checkered, C-K-E-R-D. C-K-E-R-D. Checkered. Execute those. Okay, so we got those in there right now. Altitudes at checkered, we need to be at 26,000 feet. So 210 and 2,600 feet, not 26,000 feet. There's checkered. That's an invalid entry. It doesn't like that. Okay. So at least we've got that in there. So let's see. At Racing, it's 5,000. Let's continue our descent to 5,000 feet here. So there's 5,000 feet. Okay, continuing the descent. What are we doing? We're passing 17,000 feet. The altimeter setting in Indianapolis is 3004. So 3004. There we go. Send that to the first officer. And 3004 in the backup. Okay, so we're good to go there. How far are we? We are 120 nautical miles out. I'm going to have my speed. Let's go 240 here. So 240. That's good. Okay. So that looks good. Let's continue down here. The ILS frequency is 111.75. So 111.75. Inbound course to checkered to Indianapolis is 230. So 230. 230. Okay, the ILS is now set. Minimums are going to be 200 feet. I've got that preset. Let's go ahead and reset this. We're below 14,000 feet. So we're continuing down. My cabin altitude is still 15,000 feet. We're still on oxygen. 113 miles out. We're below, coming up on 13,000. So I'm going to reduce my rate of descent just a little bit here. I do have the APU up. So let's see. Indianapolis is 783 feet. So 780 is our landing altitude. Not that this matters much. Okay, so my how's our cabin altitude? It's still at 15,000 feet. I'm wondering if I should go to manual and do something with this. Okay, this is not letting me change any of this. Auto 2. I can't change any of that, so not sure. We may burst the airplane apart when we land, because I don't know what I'm doing with that. Okay, how's this going? We are 106 miles out. I'm going to reduce my rate of descent a little bit more, get to 240 knots. So about 1,000 feet per minute. Altimeters are set. Everything else is looking good. Now we can have a look over here. Chances are, so it could be Columbus. Indianapolis was too far. Maybe I should have gone to Dayton or Cincinnati. It was closer. So that might have been a thing. We are below 10,000 feet. Landing lights. Okay, what's going on up here? Can I do anything With trim air recirculating, I can't seem to do anything like that. Passenger oxygen is still on. Ram air, there's nothing to do with that. I can't. Okay, good. Oh, good news. Look at this. The cabin pressurization is now dropping. So now we're at 10,000 feet. Okay, so that's good. So the cabin is descending finally. Good. So we're not going to kill ourselves there when we land. Okay, why is all of a sudden I'm not able to... See, we're below 10,000 feet. I think we can discontinue oxygen use. Passenger oxygen can go off. My views are not working out now. Here's 10,000 feet. No, we're going to 5,000 feet. Oh, let's put the speed brakes away. That's why my views were all messed up. Okay, so continue a slower descent. And let's see, cabin altitude is still an issue, but I don't think there's anything I can do about that. One of the other things that I went to do is I went to the iPad, I went to failures and reports. I've got no malfunctions detected. So no clue as to why this happened. If there's failures set up within the simulator itself, I have no clue. Okay, so airports data, how are we doing here? Okay, there's our flight plan. There's Rod. We are direct to Racine, and it's 93 miles to Racine. Racine was supposed to be 5,000 feet. Can we put in 5,000 there? Nope, won't let me do that. Okay, route number 2. We are going, I think we put this up here, and now KIND. Okay, so there is route 2. Departure and arrival. Route 2, KIND arrivals. We are doing ILS runway. What did they say? It was 23 right. 23 right is our ILS via Racine. Okay, so those are both active. I can't execute that. Back to the route page. Activate route 2. I know, flight number, we're going to activate and execute route 2 now. There's a discontinuity, of course. Let's look at the legs, direct to Racine, and execute that. And there's our approach, so all that looks good. It's got a top of descent over here, but that's okay. We're coming up on 5,000 feet. That looks good. Let's come on down here. I'm going to do terrain radar because I'm not 100% sure. There's the airport. Okay, so we're going to leave that like that. There is terrain, so we got terrain radar now in case there's a hill. I think we could probably stop at, how about let's stop at 7,000. So we'll do 7,000 here. And 240 knots. How's our cabin right now? The cabin pressurization is 7,000 feet. So I don't think we're killing our passengers anymore. I don't know how many are dead. But... So passenger oxygen is off. Fuel to get to where we are going, 16.1. We're not going to run out of gas. So unless there was a medical emergency or something, I guess I could have chosen an airport a little bit closer. Let's see. Now, to make this work a little bit better, I need to go to flights and unload this, flights, we're just going to do a new manual input. So K-I-A-D, K-I-N-D, Indianapolis, and just create this flight plan. There we go. Come on over here. Let's go to the charts. We don't know. We're not doing an approach. We're an emergency. We're 23 right. We're going to pin that one. We need an airport and gates. Okay, so now we got everything we need. Coming on into the airport, 23 right is what is our arrival runway. We're going to get off at Bravo 7, come back into the terminal. I have no idea where United parks, so we can go, and I know parking is ridiculous, but unless we've got to have ambulances meet us, let's go to FlightAware. So Indianapolis, and do we have any United flights here? Delta, Endeavor, FedEx, 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 FedEx. Here's a Republic from National. That's probably not a United flight. Okay, let's just go up here and do another way. So trying to figure out where to park, which is, I know, ridiculous. So let's try KORD. That is a big United hub. KIND. It's probably a CRJ type of a thing. Okay, it's Air Wisconsin for all of these. Here's a full United flight, a 738. Where would they go? They would go to A23. There's our new gate, A23. Okay, so we got that. Looking over here, where is this A23? It's right out here at the end of Concourse A. Perfect. So as we're taxiing in, unless we have to stop for emergencies, we would go right turn at Bravo 7, back in here to Sierra Tango, and in there. Okay, we know what we're doing there. Here is our approach. We're set up for racing. Minimums is 200 feet, and there we go. All right. How we doing? We are 67 miles out. That's starting to show up. That looks pretty good too. Okay. Come on over here to init ref. Approach. And we're going to do flaps 30. That's 125 knots. I'm going to go and add to that. So I always add a little bit. So let's call it 130 for landing. We're going to stay at racing. After racing, did the rest of the numbers show up in here in the legs? 3, 4, 2,600, a checkered. That's correct too. So we're good to go there. Above 5,000, above 4,000, I think we're in good shape. Passenger, cabin, we are pressurized to 7,500. That's normal. So everything else looks good. I have no idea what else happened with this. So the pressure, this is the first time one of these things has happened. Okay, all this looks good. Progress, we're 75 miles out. Don't need to do a direct to thrust limits. And there's the approach page. We're good to go there. Auto brakes, how about auto brakes 3 for landing? So auto brakes 3 is set. Landing lights, everything is good to go up here. Nothing really need to do. I do have the APU going. I was thinking that I could get some duct pressure out of that in case I had a problem with that. But no clue. Okay. Looking outside the airplane, okay. This is not ortho. This is looking outside the airplane. That's not awful. That is not bad. We're at what, 5,000 feet? This is not awful scenery at all for coming on in. I think that the auto gen for cars driving around is a little dorky, but I can live with that. I have no idea what Indianapolis Airport scenery is going to look like, so Hey, we just had a legitimate in-flight emergency. I was not planning this in any way, shape, or form. Stuff I would have done differently at this point, I would have done I would have tried to have gone to a small, airport that was closer. That's about the only thing that I would have done here. Okay, so is that us? There's United 441 going into Indianapolis. We have no ATC into Indy. So yeah, it happened over here. I probably would have gone to something like Dayton or Columbus. That would have probably been a better choice. Interesting thing to learn about this would be, okay, you've got an in-flight emergency. You've got to land. What do you choose? An airport 50 miles away, 100 miles away? Yeah, it'd be interesting. This would be something if you're a real-world pilot seeing this and throwing things at the screen. No, 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 you never do it like this. It would be great, you know. I'm really looking forward to reading the comments on this flight. Okay, Racine is now 50 miles. We are 240 knots, so we're looking pretty good there. We know what our speeds are for landing. The only other thing that I've gone and done in the sim is I did change some of my control settings. I don't know if this is the good thing to do, but I've changed all of my response curves to a cubic thing like this. I don't know if that's the thing to do, but I went and I changed those during the flight. I've also changed the shadows a little bit too, so that's been kind of nice. See, we're on VATSIM, so we should probably say something nice on the VATSIM radio. Indianapolis traffic, a United 757 is 46 miles from Racine, setting up for the ILS runway 23 right, Indy. We're still on 122.8. ILS is set. I guess since we declared an emergency, the real-world pilots would have also changed their transponder code. We're on VATSIM, so it's a little dodgy about declaring emergencies and stuff on VATSIM like this. It's been my experience that controllers don't like that, so... Everything else looks good. I can't imagine what it is that I did wrong on setting up the airplane. I'm also absolutely pleasantly blown away with this. That looks really, really, really good. Okay, let's go ahead and bring the map in a little bit. So one click on the map. Terrain's getting actually a little bit lower. Let's do an updated ATIS here. Okay, we got our gates, digital ATIS, reset. Information Quebec is our new information. My alternate was supposed to have been Detroit. So altimeter 3004, that's correct. Winds are 050 at 3 knots, 10 miles visibility, clear skies. So all of that is good. We are 37 miles from Racine. I think everything else is set up and ready to go. Nothing really to do. Let's see, that's pause. That's the airplane. I don't think that there's any way to do... I don't think that there's any way to set up, you know, for failures and stuff to be over there. So my guess is this isn't a failure. Maybe there was a pilot error in setting up the airplane. Maybe the 757 doesn't like flight level 380. That could have been it. I don't think this was an ice thing. We hadn't really gone through any clouds. We're well above the clouds, so it wasn't an ice thing, I don't think. There's no fires or anything like that. Probably some kid back there. The little brat that kicks my seat and stuff, it was the kid back there who probably hacked the airplane. Okay, in-flight emergencies aside, the most important part of the flight, the coffee, is still hot. Good to go there. And you know what? If they clean up the autogen, some of the autogen things and the fakey roads and stuff like that, this is really usable scenery here. That's not bad for the farm country that we're going over. 25 miles from Racine. 29 miles. Okay. Decision height is preset for us at 200 feet. Pretty much it's always 200 feet. Terrain radar's on. Nothing really else to do. We are picking up glide slope and localizer. We'll slow it down about 10 to 15 miles out to 210, 180, and then our landing speed. I think that this is probably just a generic farm country texture that Laminar has. It's not too overly repetitive. And unless you're trying to do what I, over in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I call the I can see my house from here flight, this is great for a jetliner. There's a chance that with the new X-Plane, all we're going to need is our favorite airports. You know, so our favorite payware airports, and some tweaks to the, what's the word I'm looking for? Tweaks to some autogen things, and we may have something that looks really, really good. 20 miles to Racine. And so much for my nice plan. In fact, all of this started to happen. So I was almost ready to. We were at top of climb. I was going to push back, head on over to the spy galley, grab myself a really nice breakfast. Come on over here and be done with breakfast right at 100 miles from top of descent and finish the video. Had no idea this was going to happen. Vertical speed. Let's see. I noticed that it's shaded. So one of the things that happens in X-Plane is if you have an altitude problem, if you have some altitude sickness or something like that, things go dark and the equipment becomes sluggish. We're at 7,400 feet pressurization. I mean, maybe my main auto 1 failed. I tried to go over to the other one. This is an interesting thing. Usually this one is straight in the middle, and it's trying to climb the airplane right now. Climb the cabin, I mean. Okay, let's see, down here, and 20 miles. It's really, really flat out here. I think... Thrust reference, brightness. I don't know. I've got to learn how to set flood panel map. Haven't really wanted to change the terrain radar to lighten it up a bit, but I think we're okay. Glide slope and localizer look good. 13 miles. Let's go ahead and do 210 so we can start throwing some flaps out here. One of the things that I got a long time ago when some of the first Flight Factor 757s came out was a book from a United pilot named Captain Mike Ray. Flaps 1. And it is called the Flight Simulator Check Ride Manual. And it's originally Captain Ray was writing these books not for flight simulator pilots, but for folks like us. No, not for flight simulator pilots like us, but for real world pilots that just got a job and had to do the simulator check ride, but you know, as a part of the hiring process. And so he wrote a really nice little book for that. Okay, let's go ahead and descend down. We're just going to do this manually. 5,000 feet. And there's 5,000 feet for racing. We're looking good there. Cabin crew, seats for landing. We're close enough. We're going to go ahead and trust the approach system, arming the approach. Get as much help as we can get on this. There's 210 knots. Let's go ahead and do 180. Again, speed for landing, 124. I'm going to make it 130. Might need a notch of speed brake here. Oh yeah, whenever you put the speed brakes out, the camera views get really, really weird. I don't know what that is, but being able to look outside for that is weird. So speed brake handles out. We'll just assume that the speed brakes are out. Glide slope and localizer are armed. Those are the white indicators you see up here. Okay, we're doing pretty good there. And yeah, that speed brake handle's a big pain. So let's reduce our rate of descent. And there's 5,000 feet. Speed brakes to get that speed down again, of course. There we are turning to final. So now we've kind of come into a little bit more of an urban area. That's when the scenery starts to break down for me. The farm scenery out there was outstanding. Landing gear. The landing gear handle works pretty good. Indianapolis traffic, a United 757 short finals for runway 23 right. Landing Indianapolis. Yeah, that's when it does kind of break down for me there. And continue that speed down to our landing speed. We're close enough, so 130. Another notch of flaps. We have glide slope, we have localizer. I know my speed brakes are out, but you are going too fast. Quit yelling at me, airplane. Speed brakes away, another notch of flaps. Auto brakes set. Gear is down, 3 green. Nice view of the airplane. Aside from my pressurization issue, this was such a nice flight. So, obviously, okay, the golf course looks pretty good. The golf course doesn't look bad. Speed's still winding it down. 5 mile finals. One last click of the map. Slowed it down a little bit sooner rather than later, but that's okay. Especially going into an airport that I wasn't planning on going to. Flaps are full. Good there. Speed's down. That's about what we want for landing. Now, one of the things that I don't think I set up with this airplane was autopilot and auto throttle disconnect buttons. So I'll have to do those manually, but we will see as we get in a little bit closer. Okay, last checks. Frequencies are set, no ATC, everything's good there. Once that happens, then let's go and see if I can disconnect the autopilot. Nope, my red button does not work. Autopilot disconnect. Captain's airplane. The airplane does not auto trim like the Airbus. Letting the auto throttle do a little bit of work here. Indy traffic, a United 757's 5-mile finals for runway 23 right, landing, Indianapolis. You probably see me when I'm doing those calls, I look off to the side. So I've got this over here and I can see my landing runway, which is right there in front of me. That's how I'm reminding myself which runway to land on and which runway to yammer about when I'm talking. So... Okay, we're pretty well established on all this. I'm going to go ahead and do auto throttle disarm. Auto throttle is disarmed. I'm now running my own throttles. Whoa. So the throttle's kicked up a little bit when I disarm the auto throttles. And it got us a little bit off the glide slope. That's one of the advantages to the Airbus system. You know, you just leave it at what, CL or MGT management. Okay, we're definitely high. Passengers have headaches. We need to get the airplane on the ground.
500.
Let's catch up here.
Minimums.
Landing.
$100.
I do like the new controller setting that I had.
40, 30, 20, 10.
Reversers. Reversers engaged. So my new reverser scheme seems to be working. Got a little bit of reverse thrust. Speed brakes down. Reversers, I mean. Let's see, did speed brakes deploy? Yeah, they did. Auto brakes off. Manual braking. I still think that my brakes are a little bit too sensitive. Still a little bit too sensitive. Indianapolis traffic, that United 757's clear of runway 23 right. Taxi to parking. Did I blow a gear or something on landing? Something's making an odd noise. Speed brakes down. Okay. Auto brakes disengaged. Oh, that was alternate flaps. Whoops. Pushed the wrong button. Flaps up. Pushed the wrong button. Boy, this is bad. And let's see. Brake temperatures. That's not showing up. I would have thought I would have had some brake temperature. Okay, the APU is already up and running. Let's see. We should... altitude off. We can do flight directors off. Okay, still have... oh, train radar's on. That's why. What were those yellow things? Train radar. There we go. Okay, let's see. Over here on the airport, we are coming up to Tango. I still think the brakes are way too sensitive, so I'll probably try and tweak those a little bit and turn on into the terminal area. This is default. I haven't seen this before. This looks pretty good. Not awful. Oh, landing lights should have gone off. Landing lights and strobes off the runway. Whoops. And there's Tango. Around we go here. We're going to Alpha 23. So let's see. I don't think that there was a failure listed in the FMC. Decision height V1 in op. So no idea what those are all about. DH, so I've got a yellow indicator like that I've never had before. And around we go here. Alpha 23 is right over there. It's a good thing it's at the end. It looks like the gates at this airport and the other airports that I've been here in XP12 are accurate. So that's really nice. Over in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the gate numbering system is a little dodgy. Okay, coming on in here, that should be 23. Is that 23? It's 23 Alpha. Okay, that's what was confusing me. I didn't see an Alpha over there, so we want to be over on the other line. We're not Alpha-izing this. So come on around here, and we'll come over here and see if we can't save this. There we go. And in we go. And that looks good. So parking brakes are on. APU is already on. Let's get the engines off so that we can get doors open. Okay, emergency lights disarmed. Let's do seatbelts off. The beacon can go off too. I think it sounds like we've got a little morning thunderstorm outside of Spy HQ right now, which is interesting. Okay, everything else is good here. The APU is over there. The APU has the generators. So all of this looks good. Come on down here. And we're going to come over to operations. We'll go to ground. I want chocks. We need a ground power unit. A tug is coming to get me. We got a tug that's coming to get me. Is that coming out to my airplane? Yeah, we got, okay, a tug has come out to my airplane and is hi tug, thank you for coming out, appreciate that. Let's go ahead and, okay, ground services are available here. They were not available at Dulles. So stop that. Okay, so apparently that was like left over. So ground services are there. Could I toggle the jetway? Maybe I didn't park correctly enough for the jetway. So the jetway is not going to let me, the jetway isn't going to come help us out. Well, gee, that's too bad. So what we can do is we'll go over here to operations and airplane. Now let's go to ground and go out of gate config. We're going to get some stairs. So there's stairs. There we go. We got stairs there. Go to airplane. We're going to open up the 1L. and the cargo bays, and we'll just use some stairs. Operations, go back to ground, unload the passengers. Error. Oh, no passenger bus. Oh, how horrible of me. Passenger bus. Gotta have a passenger bus. Now let's load. Unloading the plane. The passengers can get off, and our in-flight emergency has been taken care of. So again, I've got no clue as to how it is that this happened. Let's go and see. So what we can do, let's go to the airplane since we've landed, and let's come on over here. We're at the gate. Let's see, customize. Weight and fuel failures. Let's see what we had for failures over here. Set mean time between failures. 5,000 hours. X-Plane has systems that can fail randomly. So this is now set to 8 hours per failure. World systems, instruments, engines, controls. So systems, lights, landing gear, equipment, electrical, de-ice, controls, autopilot. Well, that doesn't seem right. Instruments, engine, navigation, primary sensor. So vacuum pumps, I don't see a failure there. Wings, engines, controls, multi-rotors, and nav aids. I don't really think that I see anything like that. Let's do PRESS. Okay, this is what happened. So, apparently I had failures turned on, and I have a rapid depressurization. It has failed. Anything else failed? So that explains it. We had a rapid depressurization in the airplane, and so we had a real pressurization failure. How about that? Let's see, let's stop squawking. Stand by. We were squawking. We're still on VATSIM, but that's what happened. I had no idea. So I think because, you know, living dangerously is kind of fun for a spy pilot like me, I think I'm going to leave this thing checked. Let's see what happens. You know, what could possibly go wrong? I'm going to go and fix all my systems now. Always working, so our system is now fixed. And so that's good. And let's go done there. Let's go over back to failures. Set mean time, so let's delete this. Close world. And we'll collapse all these down. So set mean time between failures. Okay, so we fixed all the systems. Maybe I'll leave it off for the next flight. We'll apply the changes. So I guess we did have a failure, and that is a failure. The last thing that I guess I'd say is I think my big mistake was in Indianapolis. We failed. So on the flight, we failed around Columbus, Cincinnati. So our failure happened right about here. I probably should have gone to, and I started choosing an airport. Cincinnati was closer. Dayton was closer. Now this flight path is also to Indy. So we were looking more like it failed up here. So Dayton, I think it was around in here that it failed. So, and we were scheduled to go more like this. I just chose the biggest city. I think I should have chosen a closer airport. I will be looking in the comments to see what a real-world pilot says about choosing a appropriate emergency landing airport, how far away it should be. So that's going to be interesting to learn and read. In the meantime, well, holy cats. This is certainly, as I always like to say here on YouTube, not about the right way versus the wrong way. It is really what works for me. And, you know, considering we had a surprise failure that I wasn't expecting, I'd say that this worked today. We got on the ground. I don't know how many passengers are dead. In fact, the dead passenger thing went off when I turned on passenger oxygen. So maybe we saved it. I cannot wait to read your questions and comments in chat about this one. And I hope you'll join us over on the Spy Flight. We fly every day, Tuesday through Sunday at 1900 Zulu, 3 p.m. Eastern Time in the summertime, and that is over on Twitch. Also, a huge big thank you to supporters on Ko-fi, Patreon, and also the really cool Spy Pilots over on Twitch, including the Spy Pilots that have done some subscriptions. You all are definitely the jet fuel in my flight plan. And I appreciate you watching this video over here on YouTube. I will be back again. I'm probably going to go and take a look at the Denver airport next time, and we'll take a look and see how that scenery is working, and maybe try one of the other airplanes or stick with this one. Thank you so much for flying along with me. As always, I hope that you are healthy and safe, and I will look forward to seeing you soon again here on YouTube and even sooner on Twitch. Cheers.